Welcome back to another episode of Caldini Coaching Me. Today we're going to be having a look at GTO's new feature, the ICM postflop feature, and we're going to review my 109 Sunday warm-up third place finish. Enjoy.
Let's get started with this one then, Connor.
Yeah.
You just terrified me, by the way. That was loud. I shit my pants. So yeah, give me a second to relax a little bit, and then we can dive in. But no, what we thinking for under the gun here?
No, never open
Run
this.
open. Too wide. So what would be the bottom for you?
So we've got two good players that have us covered, MP and Button. So offsuit ace X, I would open ace 10 off, and I wouldn't open ace 9 off. But
So ace 10 off, yeah. Pull up. Did you say ace 10 off?
Yeah.
Bottom.
But I can see that being indifferent for sure.
What about pocket pairs and offsuit kings?
So sevens.
Sevens.
King queen off. Jack 10 suited. I'd open any suited ace, I think. And then king 9 suited. That'd be it, I think.
Yeah, so not too loose.
No.
I think this looks pretty good for a range. I'm glad we're not dipping too deep into these low pairs. Like even sevens might not be worth much, to be honest. Some of these weaker suited aces might be coming out, because if you think about, while the blockers are quite valuable, in chip EV, ace deuce from under the gun is usually very, very dicey. So I think with us being a fourth place stack, we've got a short stack here, and we've got a 15 big blind stack there, sub 10 in the cutoff. Obviously, we're covered by this guy. We're not going to play that many hands against this guy. It's mainly the button and the blinds. But the fact that we're covered by, I think, these late position ranges is a little bit of a problem. The reason I asked is because you can expand sometimes into these offsuit aces in a way that looks a little bit unintuitive and sacrifice some of these suited connectors. So the fact that you're not playing 10-9 suited, I think, is probably a good idea. Some people are still playing sub 9-8s and 8-7s here. I would rather play king 8 suited than 10-9 suited, to be honest.
Yeah, the blockers.
Just prioritizing those blockers. Yeah.
Much more important. And yeah, I mean, if the stacks look different, I would have given you a different range.
Yep. I mean, it looks good to me. See if we can find one. So we're looking for a under the gun range where we're kind of middling. There's not many short stacks there. I guess we could look at this one to start, because this one's probably going to be... Actually, we are the shortest stack there, so that's not great. Start with this one. Pretty good. Pretty damn good. Yeah.
King Jack off.
I think it's going to be pretty close to the one we're looking at. So, I mean, in terms of your answer's very good. Obviously, yes, deuce.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather pure open sevens than mix in sixes and fives. You know, try to find that mix.
This one's probably a little bit more accurate. If you see one that looks spot on, just give me a shout. One looks pretty good. Don't think we're going to see much moving around from the range you picked. Looks spot on to me. Suit connector's not worth much. Pocket sevens and low are not worth much. Pretty much all the suited aces, suited broadways, king 9 suited. Yeah, spot on. You've been practicing. You've been practicing this morning.
This morning? No.
Yeah, no. Let's do this. This is a really interesting spot, actually.
Yeah.
So
I know we have to, like, fold a lot here. And this one might be close. I can't see us folding Jack 9 suited. And I can see us folding Jack 7 suited, so it's probably in.
Tell you what we'll do. We don't have a multi-way solver yet, so we won't spend too much time on the post flop. But this pre-flop spot, I think, is pretty fucking important, especially for the guys who haven't seen it before. I think you've seen this kind of stuff before, maybe even with me. We've looked at this kind of multi-way stuff.
Yeah.
But just super quickly, what are you defending in chips? So as a rough percentage, what kind of range are you looking at?
Like 65-ish. Let me see what 65 looks like. Yeah, but then I take out a lot of those offsuit stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so something like this.
No, a bit tighter on the offsuit end.
Tighter. A little bit like this, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe take
Yeah,
out the
looks fine.
suited deuces. No.
So when it comes to suited combos, multi-way, in chips,
They're all in.
to start folding suited combos, you're looking at either really early position opens and flats, or you're looking for deeper stacks. Usually the cutoff for me, I've seen, is around 50 bigs. So if it's 40 effective, even with an under the gun open and a hijack flat, it's hard for suited combos to come out. If we jump into, again, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I think the contrast between the chip EV range we're going to see is pretty fucking important. If we just go to 40 bigs, under the gun opens, cut off flats, big blind response, most of them are going to be in. It's only really 7 deuce and 8-3 that are mixing there. You really need like 60 bigs for them to start coming out.
Okay.
Or you need like under the gun, low jack flat, big blind response. But even so, it's only a couple. So mostly what you want to do when you're 50 big blinds and lower with suit combos is you're going to overcome. Obviously the offsuit combos are against these positions
Absolute
pretty
dirt.
fucking worthless. Yeah. At 30, I think because the positions we're facing in chips quite wide, so it's a cut off open and a button flat. This is going to be as wide as it gets, being out of position, right?
Yeah.
Cut off and button. We can probably play some king 4 and king 3, some offsuit 7s, maybe some 8-6, these offsuit connectors. But it's not going to get much looser than that. I think your answer is pretty fucking good, to be honest. So let's take a super quick look. I would probably be a little bit too loose with these kings. I said king deuce, these 7s. Looks like we want to expand with the gappers instead. So I would be a little bit too loose with these. And it's basically a min raise. Your answer was really good. If we throw in a button fold and a small blind call, if we look at the fold frequency first, 35% fold. So keep all these numbers in mind because it is going to lead to me making a point at the end, trust me. So 35% fold in chips at 30 bigs. Okay. We're going to throw in the small blinds. Now we're only folding 20 because we're in position. It's going to help us defend much wider. So that's the first important thing when it comes to defending multi-way pre-flop, is when the small blind's the flat caller and we're in the big blind, you can defend much wider. So we've got 35% folds and then we've got 20 with the blind. What do you think it's going to look like on the FT? What are we V-pipping? So we started at, I think we started at about 65, didn't we? Like this.
I'll get rid of all that offsuit shit, isn't it? Ace deuce off, get rid of it. Ace 3 off, ace 6 and ace 7. Even ace 5 and ace 4, I think. No?
Getting rid of all of these, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Yeah, dip into the...
We are covered as well, just keep that in mind.
Dip into those suited deuces.
Throw some of these out, yeah? Something like this.
Yeah. I think the pairs will stay in. I'd go even tighter on the offsuit. Like the offsuit 9x. Get rid of it.
What about these connectors? Are you keeping these in?
8, 9. I'm just thinking about the button flat range here. I'd rather have 6-5 off and 5-4 off than 9-10 off and Jack 10 off. Then Jack 10 off probably doesn't come out.
So you're making quite a big adjustment there. We went from 65 to 43. It's a big change.
Okay, so yeah, just leave
So
it at that. So
that's
I guess.
let's take a look. The one thing we see when we look at ICM adjusted multi-way ranges, especially in final tables where we're covered, the overcalling ranges are super fucking tight. The fact that we're facing a cut-off open and a button flat, I think is going to allow still a decently wide range, but it's certainly going to be a million miles away from 65%. So we'll try and find a sim where we're covered by both. This one looks perfect to me, 37.46.
God, I was saying Jack 8 suited is close. It's obviously not.
I think Jack 8's going to be in. I would
Yeah,
defend Jack 8. Yeah. So we're
Jack,
looking for a big stack,
but
mid-stack flats.
but the range we just constructed there has like Jack Deuce.
Yep. You feeling like Jack Deuce is gonna come out?
I mean, now that I know that we've already adjusted by over 20%, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is a huge adjustment, isn't it?
Let's start with this one. This one's not perfect, but we've got a big stack in the cutoff opening. Button's also got a big stack, and then we're a little bit shallow in the big blind, so this might be a good starting point. Cutoff open, button flat, big blind
Yeah,
overcall.
I was fucking right the first time, man. Jack 7 suited.
So we
Oh,
went from what was it, a 35% fold in chips to 65. And this is a min raise. So it's a min raise. It's the widest position we're going to face because it's a cutoff open and a button flat without the small blind in, obviously, because we are going to play it wider with the small blinds. Jack 6 suited is just pure fold. Yeah, 10 9. All of these offsuit connectors, these are going to drop in value when you adjust for ICM. Jack 8's in, but you can see if we just look at the EV, it's not worth much. Again, this is against a min raise. See if we can find a sim where stacks are a little bit closer to win game. We're 900 as well, aren't we? This one's not a million miles away. Big stack opens the button, button flats, big blind overcall. Now that looks loads fucking different for some reason.
by the way, guys, you can get 10% off of this tool, GTOwizard, with my
Ah,
link.
shit.
Make sure to look for it in the subscription. In the subscription. In the description.
So there's our similar range, right? Big block of this suited, combos getting carved out. The offsuit block has just been fucking annihilated. Other than these offsuit broadways, and keep in mind again, widest positions we're going to face, other than the offsuit broadways, there isn't an offsuit combo there that's worth more than 0 against these ranges when we're covered. So when you start throwing in, if we look at this distribution again, if we throw in like an under the gun 2 open and a button flat, for example, and obviously with these sims, we're much deeper than in game. Ace 10, worth 0. King Jack's worth 0. Queen 8 suited's worth 0. King Deuce suited's coming out. So we've got to be super careful when it comes to overcall and multi-way on FTs because there's just so many hands that just get nuked in terms of the EV, especially the offsuit block. Yeah. So your answer was pretty good, to be honest. I've seen players VPIPing a lot more than this.
I was
We just need to
gonna
tighten up.
I initially when we saw the hand I was like Jack 7 suited, I could see that
Yeah,
being
I remember.
indifferent. And then because we adjusted so much and I saw that like uh, you tricked me. Just fold this, right?
I would fold. Yeah. So
Come on, Connor, from 2 weeks ago. Make the fold. Yeah.
the thing is, the cutoff's going to check the flop quite a lot, I would imagine, because he's opening as the chip leader.
Yeah.
It is a king high board, which is usually good for the opener, but this button flatten range is just very strong. So I understand he covers, but his range is super wide, button's range is super strong, so he's probably got to be careful. We've got quite a tight big blind overcall too. So I wouldn't be c-betting much. On the turn, he's still going to cover some strong hands when he checks again, because the turns, you can't just bet all of your flushes and all your sets and all your two pairs as the cutoff there, because you're just going to get smoked when you check. I would probably check range as the big blind. So yeah, so because the cutoff's got a high frequency check on the flop, it's a king high board or out of position. The turn also reintroduces some combos, some strong combos for the button, which usually you won't have, right? Because usually what you want to do multi-way, if you have pocket eights or king four suited or king eight suited, is you just want to bet. So usually when in position checks multi-way, they're going to be capped. But the turn reintroduces some strong hands and kind of uncaps the button because he can check back some flush draws. But because we're out of position against a high frequency check on the cutoff, and our big blind range is super wide, I would just check range on the turn. I would check range. So we have, when the button places this bet, infinite flushes. Well, I would have infinite flushes. I would have some sets. I would have two pairs. I would have king X with a diamond. I would have 8X with a diamond. I would have ace 4 with a diamond. You know, ace 4, although it wasn't defending much pre. I think it might have been sneaking in the ranges we looked at. But you get the point. We've got a lot of hands to defend with. I think naked 8X, especially when we block the way he's going to bluff, because he's going to bluff with queens, jacks, tens for the most part, because that's what his pre-flop range looks like. I think these naked 8s are probably just going to come out for the most part.
Yeah.
This looks super spewy, by the way. I would definitely tag him after seeing this.
Just betting the turn. Yeah.
Betting the turn, but using that size, just too big. And I would probably pure check. He's just over investing with the weak to middle part of the range. I mean, that kind of goes to our point, right? That
Yeah.
the
He's,
cutoff showing up with
double
the king.
checking top pair.
Yeah, because we don't have the type of hand that wants to just start getting stacks in. So
Yeah.
checking top pair twice is going to be very reasonable. So starting to invest with these kind of bet sizes with a very weak to middle and strength hand, this is going to be too spewy for me. Again, big blind should be full of flushes, two pairs, king X. So I would either check, or I think even betting small is going to be an option. When you've checked back the flop in position and your range is capped and you want to reopen the action with a couple of strong hands and some bluffs, usually what you want to do is use a small size, right? Because your range is the most capped of all three. And that's usually going to translate to small bets. Or a lot of
As
checking.
played, I think if I'm in his shoes with the tens, as played, I'd bluff the river. No, maybe not. Maybe pocket sevens bluff the river. If we have that. Not as
Yeah,
sorry,
I would
as
check.
played. If it goes check check and then we check back the turn, and then he checks to us on this river. What would you bluff, like pocket sevens or something?
So I think the value betting range is going to be pretty thin. Because when you've checked back the turn in position, you're very fucking capped. Because they expect most of the flushes to be betting. So the top of the range at that point becomes two pair, right? So ace 8, maybe ace deuce, ace 4. Maybe the occasional trap with like ace queen of diamonds, right? So I don't think the value betting range is very wide. So you don't need to bluff much. I just wouldn't be doing that much betting on this river. So I'm just going to pick the best bluffs. And I think you're still going to be able to come to this river with the occasional queen jack suited, queen 10 suited. Pocket threes I would use. I think when you get to like sevens, tens, it's going to be a little bit too high up. I think you're going to be able to find enough bluffs elsewhere. So I would just check, personally.
Okay.
1 sec, we got a noisy little boy. out. So I don't know if that was coming through. Wait, lights have fucking shouted. Right. Easy.
Somehow I was ahead.
Yeah, nice folds. What do you think about this one?
Yeah. I know we're in position to the small blind here, but he's flattened versus a player who's opening off a very short stack. Which is obviously quite polar, right?
Yeah, I would imagine
So
he's going to
his
have some jams, right?
so his bluffs are usually, I mean, I guess you could open and fold some suited ace-x. It's mostly going to be offsuit broadways, right? And then just really strong hands.
Mm-hmm.
And with the small blind flatting, similar range, maybe even some pairs in there and some traps. I think this hand is just not going to play well multi-way.
Yeah. What do you think about the small blind flat?
I'd hate it.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have any flats there.
he wouldn't flat much. It's too shallow against the opener.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So I wouldn't flat there. There might be a little bit of flatting, but I am concerned that we're not going to have much of a range to look at for the big blind overcall. The only thing that I think's going to defend this as an overcall is the fact the small blind's in the pot. But even with the small blind in the pot, with this scenario, it's a big fucking difference that it's a middle position open on a short stack with a super tight range compared to the spots we've looked at, which were chip leader cut-off opens, which were like 50% of the deck. So I think even with a small blind in this spot, I think your fold's probably going to be pretty good. Let's see if we can find. So we've got a 15 there. We'll see if the small blind's flatten there. So 15 big blinds opens. He doesn't have any jams actually. I thought he might have a couple of like queen jack suited, king queen off, ace jack off. No jams there.
This is just kind of, by the way, just to jump in. This is kind of showing that once you've been playing and studying for a good while, that this type of coaching session really can be in can be not great value, right? Like I haven't, you haven't found me do anything wrong. I kind of know everything you're saying. Obviously, it's great for the video and stuff, but I just want to reiterate that like getting a database league finder review for if you're like a mid stakes already established player is the way to go when you're getting one-on-one coaching, and Caldini does do them, and you can watch the previous 4 episodes, which are those types of sessions. I just wanted to see the ICM feature in GTOwizard today.
Yeah, spot on. What we'll do, just to speed things up a little bit, we won't spend too much more time on the pre-flop on it. We'll dive into some post-flop spots. But yeah, this is
Yeah,
kind of the problem with hand reviews, which is why we mostly do our database work, because you straight away into a leak, straight away into a filter that we've identified is causing you problems, rather than just flying through hands. Because what we're essentially doing, even if we were to run a bunch of post swap sims now, you might nail all your decisions, you might smash them all. But
yeah,
that's the risk of these hand reviews, is we're not honing in on something that's causing you problems. We're searching for something, but sometimes you don't find it straight away.
yeah.
Um,
Whereas if you're a beginner, you're definitely gonna have mistakes immediately. So don't pay much for your coach. Get like a cheap guy or even someone slightly better than you to do for free. Just go through hand histories until you improve.
Kind of sick though, this response. So ace-6 is off. This range obviously looks very, very messy. Doesn't look like it's run down too much, but it's squeezing super wide, very linearly. Just looks like it is forcing the low jack in.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming because the small blind just called a capped range, his fold frequency is going to be through the roof. So it's just a very linear squeeze. I wouldn't have squeezed much of these.
Wow, yeah. So you have to just run Jack 9 and 9-10 suited against the 14 big blinds.
Yes, when the
Just
small
as I
blind
make that
flats.
speech, we actually find something that we both didn't know.
Yeah, there you go. I wouldn't have been this wide.
That is crazy. 7-8 suited.
I mean, finding the suited broadways, I think's intuitive. You know, ace-8 suited, king-9 suited, some of the strongest offsuit broadways. But as low as threes, I think, to be honest, it's partly because we're the big blind, the small blind just completely fucked when he flats.
Yeah.
You just don't want to be playing against squeezes in that position. So the fold frequency for the small blind's very high. A little
Let's
bit of
have a
dead
look
money
at
there.
the low Jack range.
The
Opening.
opening range. There you go.
Yeah, it's
Pretty tight.
Pretty tight.
What do you think about this one?
Yeah, it's just I think we're not supposed to use the offsuit stuff, but I was just putting pressure on this guy who's like his stack is very awkward here with
Yeah.
the with 12, 3, 12, 3 sub 12 big line stacks. Be a disaster.
So what's your approach at the minute for combo selection and frequency? So you want to put pressure, you want to be bluffing a bunch, but how are you managing kind of how to do that?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, basically, how are you making sure you find the right bluffs and the right amount?
The right frequency. I don't know, man. Just winging it.
Swinging it. It's tough. It's tough. It's tough to know, before we've seen the sim, how much is ace-5? Is it using ace-5 off? Is it using ace-3? Is it using ace-6? Is it using suited kings? Is it using suited aces? One thing I would say is if we're not doing something to manage it, and whenever we see a hand we think, okay, this could be a decent 3-bet bluff, we use that. There's a very good chance we're going to be over bluffing quite significantly, especially on stream. Connor, if someone's watching on an FT, which I would be if I was playing against you, right?
Yeah.
Getting some free information. If I see you play this spot and you don't mix, you're just like, okay, I've got ace-5 off, I'm going to put some pressure on. I'm probably just going to 4-bet on any two cards. Because if you're always using this, you're probably always using the suited combos. You're probably going to use some suited kings. You're probably going to use a little bit of king jack off, maybe some ace-2, ace-3, ace-4 offsuit.
Yeah, but this particular spot where he's opening off the 24 blinds and there's 3 12 blind spots or stacks, that's that's not very common.
You mean you should be playing a tight range?
No, I mean I can kind of attack him a lot more than I would normally. Before I forget, someone in chat just wants to see that previous hand when we squeeze. Oh, you already showed that, yeah.
Yeah. Low jack's just jamming for value, basically. Ace jack, ace 10, sevens.
Ace 10 off. Would you do that?
I would fold this in game. Personally. I think ace 10 suited ace jack. I mean, king, queen, and sevens are mixing, but pocket eights plus, I think those are a little bit more intuitive. Although I haven't said that exploitatively. This is a fucking wide range. I'm not finding this. So would I fold a little bit higher up, to be honest, after seeing this? Yeah, I would fold a little bit higher up.
I'd say fucking see Darwin's not squeezing that.
I think maybe at the end of the session we can try and replicate this spot, see if it keeps popping up with the small blind flats when he shouldn't against a short stack. The big blind squeezes very wide linearly. Because I think it makes sense. But yeah, there's the range. Yeah, all I'm getting at it for this spot is that even though you can bluff a lot, because the nature of the spot, I would just be careful, and I'd probably mix.
Yeah.
Because I think when you don't mix, you're going to be over bluffing. It's hard not to be over bluffing because there's just too many combos which you can use. And if when you get dealt one, there isn't a process of sometimes not using them, and it's basically this combo's good to go, let's bluff. You're limited on value, right? So the value combos are still limited. The amount of bluffs you can choose. I mean, you're not going to use 7 deuce, but you can very easily get to the point where you're over bluffing with just ace x and king x. For sure. Especially with the offsuit combos where we've got 12 combos each. I'll see if we can find one. We want to be quite shallow, don't we? So what is it? Hijack versus the button.
Well,
Big
can't
stack.
we exploitatively just do that over bluff? Like if we think the guy isn't gonna 4-bet us or whatever.
Or if he's just playing way too tight.
If he's not 4-betting, if he's like, even if he's not super tight, if he's flatting, if someone in chat says they're worried that he's gonna flat a lot here.
Also, we 3-bet any
I don't
flats.
mind. I don't mind that one. He can flat and just play out of position against the beast that I am.
I mean, if he's flatting, it's going to be pretty good for our bluffs.
Yeah.
You know, if he flats Queen Jack suited and it should jam or fold, it's going to be good for ace 5 off, seeing a flop for free, for sure. But the guys who are super passive against 3-bets, in my experience, aren't opening super wide. But if he's opening super wide and he's not 4-betting, then yeah, 3-betting is going to be more profitable than it should be. But I would be concerned that he's opening with these short stacks on the table tight enough that he doesn't really need to do anything crazy against our 3-bets. I don't think he's going to need to do any ridiculous jams with like King 8 suited at a full weight or anything. I think this sucks. So this bluff's probably going to be better.
It's even better now. Alright, I could make a mistake here, by the way. This would be one we can go post flop. We could use. I know Solver might not have ace 5 off, but
We can throw it in. Let's see if we can find a sim. So hijack opens 23-ish. The sizing's a little bit scuffed. I wouldn't use this click personally. Because the range wants to be, I think, more polarized than this. See if we can find a different sim. Yeah, a lot of these look kind of fucking weird, to be honest. But we need the spots where we're quite shallow, don't we? For the pressure. This one might be okay. Pretty similar to the one we looked at. This one looks a little bit better. So we can look at this one. See if the hijack has flats.
Let's have a look at the range.
The 3-betting range.
Yeah. So it has ace 5 off.
Yeah. So combo selection wise, good stuff. Just got to be careful with the frequency. Yeah.
Yeah, against good players.
I would be more concerned about how wide they're opening and how much aggression they're showing against 3-bets than whether they're good or not. Because if they're really shit at the game, Connor, but they're opening 5% of hands, I'm not going to 3-bet ace 5 off.
Right. Or
I
if
don't
they're
care
shit,
if
if
it's
they're
the
shit
first
at the game and
tournament.
they're like opening too wide, but then just like being super aggressive post and leave it as well, right?
Yeah, if the RFI is looking like a chip EV range, and they fall to 3-bets 80% because it's an FT and they're a little bit scared, they might still be shit, but they're now a 3-bet a bunch. So I'll be more concerned about, what showdowns they show me. Think.
But when you're saying like, if it was you, you'd like just forward any two cards. If
As
you're
this guy.
if you saw me
Yeah.
doing this too much and stuff. But like I do this all the time on stream, and people don't like. A lot of people don't adjust like that. So against most people, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I watch the frequency, but you can definitely overdo it more than you think.
Yeah. So if you're playing against someone who thinks either opening too wide or they're just a little bit passive against 3-bets, like if we look at the hijack response, there's really no flats there. So if you see someone's a little bit on the weaker side, maybe they're overfolding, maybe the instead of jamming king 10 and queen jack and ace queen and king queen and ace 5, they're flattening, or maybe they're flattening pocket eights. It's going to make 3-betting better, so I think overdoing it is pretty good. It's not so much that I'm telling you don't 3-bet this combo pure when you're playing. What I'm trying to do is illustrate that if we aren't mixing, it's dangerous, and that it's an easy exploit if someone's aware of it. That's it. Just that these combos are never in pure; they're always mixing. So I'll be a little bit cautious with who you're 3-betting against. But the main thing for me is just understanding how the spot works. That's kind of my foundation when it comes to studying. Understanding how this works, that it is using these to a low frequency. Can you bump up that frequency in game? Yeah, of course you can.
You're just warning me not to 3-bet you.
I mean, you can go for it if you want. I'm sure I'll run into kings that one time, but I think you get the point, right? So if I know it's a spot that looks like, let's say we know what the range looks like on it. Let's say I know that these combos mix to a low frequency, which I think is pretty predictable, and then I see you 3-bet this, and maybe the way you describe the hand on stream is, I think we're getting into the weeds a little bit now, but maybe you describe it, you don't say anything that would lead me to believe you're mixing. It's just, okay, I have ace 5 off, this is a good bluff, I'm going to bluff. That's 12 combos of the hand. And if you're using ace 4, that's another 12. And ace 6 is another 12. Ace 3 is another 12. And, king 5 suited is another 4. The fold frequency against 4-bet's going to be too high. And it's not going to take that many of those kind of combos to come in where you can just 4-bet any two. Most people aren't going to do that, though. So could you push this in game? Yeah, I think you can. I think you can push it. I like the bet size. I think you can go a little bit bigger, but it's ace high paired, disconnected, looks good. 10, I think you can go either way. I think you can bet small. I think you can check. No, jam, I think.
Yeah, this is a mistake. I just couldn't see. I just couldn't see what we're getting called by here.
The thing is, I don't know that we ever lose unless he has like ace jack, but we block ace jack of diamonds. We block ace 4 of diamonds. We block ace 3 of diamonds if he ever flats them pre. So it's very hard to have a board. You can also bet those or check raise those on the flop. Like you can check raise 3s on the flop. You can bet 3s on the river. You can bet 4s on the river. You can bet ace 10 suited. But again, there's only one combo of ace 10 suited left. Right? It's only ace 10 of hearts, ace queen of hearts. Ace queen can jam pre. So I just don't see. Like before we've seen the showdown, I might just look like an idiot, but I just don't see how we lose.
Yeah.
So if I feel like I've got the nuts in position on the river, especially for a bet size like this, like 1.3x pot, I'm just going to jam. And I'll let him worry about what he wants to call. Because if he wants to call nothing, then when I have king 6 suited, he's just going to get fucking smoked. He's going to get destroyed. So if he wants to just check fold his entire range, be my guest. Go for it. And he's already shown us up to now that he's willing to be a little bit sticky and a little bit spewy with his pocket tens and his flat from the small blind there when there's no flats. So he's investing money in spots where he shouldn't. So can he find a call with some random pocket sixes?
I don't think it was him that he
Maybe.
flat the button, wasn't, and he made the bet with the tens.
Mm-hmm. So I think betting non all in's fine. As long as we don't check. Like you can bet 8.
I
I think you can
checked.
bet like 8. Yeah, I would never check. I think we just always win.
Yeah.
There's like 1 or 2 combos of better hands. It's suited aces, right? That's what we're concerned about. Suited aces. It's only hearts. And like I said, he can bet those on the river himself. He can bet his ace 10, his ace 9, ace 8 if he shows up with those types of hands. So I think when he gets to this point and he checks, mostly what you're looking at is like Queen Jack, King Jack suited, pocket
I think you
pairs.
should bet the turn and check the river is better because like a lot of his spades, his king jack of spades and stuff like that are going to call.
Yeah, I'd bet. I'll be surprised if we lose. I'm not saying we can't lose, by the way, but I'll be surprised.
Hey, run the post flop.
Ah, that's what we're here for.
Yeah. Come on,
We
man.
don't have much of a range, but we can get in there. Go. That range is non-existent. Just make sure these settings are all looking good.
Do you want to explain what you're doing now?
Yeah, so let's go back actually. Go back to the settings. Oops. So we're just taking the pre-flop ranges that we got through the GTOwizard ICM adjusted pre-flop sims. And with the AI tech, now you can run PKO adjusted post-flop sims, ICM adjusted post-flop sims. So we've got our 3-betting range in position that we've just looked at. Pocket tens, ace queen, some offsuit broadways, then we've got some ace x and king x blockers. We've got the out of position range, which is pretty thin, but we've got a little bit of a range there. It's got some nines in. So we can take a look at a post flop sim. We've got the stack distribution for the sim, which is automatically put in. We don't need to do that ourselves. We've got the payouts, which again is done automatically. We've got ICM selected instead of chip EV, regular tournament, no bounties. Let's get the stacks correct. The pot's a little bit smaller in game as is 12.5. Oh no, it's about the same. 12.5. And I'm basically saying with these settings, give me 2 bet sizes that the AI is going to select for us, allow an all in 2, and then we're just going to see what it spits out. Double check we've got the right board though. Ace of spades, ace of clubs. Hijack's going to check. There is a little bit of check for us. What I'm going to do is we're going to allow the 10% bet check for us, because I would assume you're not using different bet sizes there if you're using 10%, just with range,
Yeah.
which I think looks good. So we bet. I think you're going to see a lot of folds from, yeah. So these aren't, even against 10%, these aren't worth much. What do you think about this response, Conor? Do you think we should take some raises out?
Yeah. I think ace nine is never. It probably won't raise ace 10. Yeah, take out all the raises, except maybe ace jack.
Tell you what we'll do. We'll just go through it super quick with whatever it says, and we'll see what the answer is. Yeah, ICM post flops very, very recent. 10 was a jack of spades right now. That was a low card, wasn't it? Four spades. Ace 5. Doing a lot of betting, 40%. We check. What was the river jack? Of hearts. So there is a little bit of check with some of these ace highs. But again, we block half of these combos when they get there. The range is obviously super fucking thin. Looks like it's kind of close. But there's just a lot of betting. Like if we look at
Why is
ace6,
ace
ace7.
5 gone? It's supposed to bet the turn, is it?
Yeah, we're supposed to bet the turn with ace 5.
Yeah. But yeah, as you could, like, it's, if there's any check at all with ace 7 there, that means it is pretty low EV.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty close. If we look at the EV of ace7, pretty close. ace7 of hearts, specifically. I think the diamonds is worth too much because we block the boats, which we kind of alluded to. Like if you look at the combos there with the ace of diamonds, they're just worth a lot more on the bet option. So it's really the ace of hearts that's mixing. The hijack doesn't really have boats, to be honest. Like the frequency's so low, so it's just that he has more diamonds in his range that we lose to. So it's kind of close. I think in game you're going to face a different range to that though. Like I think this raise is going to be lower. I think the fold frequency on these under pairs is going to be much lower. We want yeah, I think you're going to see this a lot. This bluff pre Connor is going to be much better against players like this when he's just not jamming when he should. But we've already seen that these kind of responses when you shallow facing a 3-bet out of position, you're just not flatting much, right?
Yeah.
So against these kind of guys, it's probably going to be worth more. So yeah, we missed a bit on the turn there. Good.
This 2.6, so he's not able to do a, so to disincentivize the stop and go. Do you think he still called and just folded flop?
Yeah, I mean you can still have a call in range against that size. I would.
Yeah.
Be tighter, but I'm not folding 9-7 suited.
Yeah, right.
And I'm not jamming, so there's going to be a block of hands which want to call. I think the sizing makes sense. I'd be a little bit more inclined to do it when he's shallower, so when he's got like 6, 7, 8 bigs.
Yeah, he'd still min raise at 10, yeah.
Yeah, because you can still. Well, to be honest, I think the EV of both options are going to be pretty similar. So I'll start there. But I think with the min raise, when especially on a final table, when you can just raise folds with a bunch of hands, it makes more sense. I think in
Yeah, and
chips, especially when it
the
gets
raise
dicey,
itself on an
just
FT
raise.
is polarizing enough, probably. Well, no, not when we covered him, I guess.
Yeah, yours is just going to be linear, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's fine. Looks good. Pressure on. What's your approach with this spot at the minute? Just pull this off the other screen.
He only has 11 bigs,
Yeah. So are you just what are you doing at the minute? What's your strategy?
Folded.
Not with King Jack, man, with just with the range.
Yeah, folding range.
Just folding the range.
I'd be calling quite tight. He's quite strong here with the other 2 9 big blind stacks. Be something like Ace jack suited, ace queen off. Nines plus, no king queens.
Mm-hmm. So what would you do with eights if he jams?
Well, I wouldn't. I'd fold.
Fold eights.
Yeah.
It feels a bit dicey to be folding eights. I wouldn't fold eights personally. I would basically just take the hands I'm going to call against the jam and shove those. That would
Yeah,
be my
yeah.
strategy.
I'd never call it. I'm never calling this.
Because I don't think it's like super strong in terms of. I don't think it's
No, it's
stronger than the
just
jam
it's just a
necessarily.
shove. It's just a shove.
Yeah,
If the two blinds go all in, then he can get away from it. That's why he's doing it.
yeah, good stuff. That's what I was thinking. What are we under the gun 1 against button 11? Let's try this one. It's
So
not
there
this weird size.
is.
I wonder if there's some flats there. Be
It's
funny.
in there. The six.
Fuck it, it's flats. That's ridiculous. Yeah, this half stack committal is pretty common. One thing I will say is though, it doesn't tend to. I haven't seen any spots where it makes significant EV. It's no pairs folding though. If he jumps 10 bigs,
Okay.
so that's much wider. If he makes it 6, do
Can I
have
see?
flats, which is kind of sick.
Have a look at his range again. 4s, 5s, and 6s are in there. I mean, maybe, I guess.
There's not as many short stacks on the table, so this one might be a little bit better.
Oh yeah, there's no. You need the two 9 big blind stacks on the table. Might have to
Yeah,
HRC this.
let's take a look at this one if he jumps. I think this is close to what we're seeing in game. Yeah.
Yeah, look, and there's even in that one, there's no. Remember, there's two 9 big blind stacks on the table, so I guess
Mm-hmm.
I bet you I'm right if you ran it properly. We have to run it now. The people want to know who's right.
People want to know. So about 8s. Actually, it's going to take me a second to get the payouts and stuff in. It's a bit of a weird sim to look at though, because it has these 3 sizes, so the jamming range is never what it should be. These flats are sticking around though, by the way, against these really big 3-bets.
I
I guess
guess
we'll just stop and
post.
go.
This would be an interesting one to look at post flop. Do the
I want
call.
to look at this.
Yeah, yeah.
Give me a flop.
So yeah, so do we check fold on like, okay, ace king 6. No, you just still put it in with 8s. Check fold 7s. I guess he can have 7s.
Yeah, we're just playing this very check fucking dense 4 big blind post flop game tree. It's kind of ridiculous. So sick. Guess we just call and get it in post up on a lot of boards, but get a little, a little touch of fold equity. I can't imagine that's making much EV, by the way, if you'd have run the sim without the calls. I hope not, because I don't want to start learning what the fuck's going on there. It makes sense though, especially when we cover. I would call, nice. Fuck me. Probably lead.
Really?
Probably lead. This is going to be a really good one. I mean, so let's take it back. So how wide do you think he's going to open there?
Cutoff
like
rate,
50%.
maybe 30%.
As chip leader.
Okay. Probably normal chippy V, 37.
Yeah, sounds about good to me. And what do you think his steeper frequency is going to be on this board? It's going to be pretty fucking high, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we check all the flop. I know he's bet small, but bear with me. We check all the flop. We're going to have under pairs. We're going to have some suited queens, some broadways. But we get to this point in the game tree against a 37% range with infinite boards, pocket pairs, or queen highs. I just feel like his range is fucked. Like we just cook him. I know we're covered and it's a pain, but we're very dense the nuts now after we check all this flop. We're going to check all a bunch of ace-x, right? Even though he's bet one. You know, I'm not going to check raise ace-6 of hearts much. We're not folding king-x. So against a range in the cutoff that has 8-6 suited, jack-6 suited, 10-9 off. Now the problem is we're covered, so it might be a bit of a problem. But just in terms of what the ranges look like now, I feel like he's fucked. So this looks like a good spot for me to start leading. I wouldn't lead big because he still has coverage of the nuts and we're quite deep, we're covered. So if we do want to lead, small's probably the one. Having said that, the fact that we're covered and he has so much ace-x in his range might just make the lead hard. It might just be difficult to lead. But our range at this point is just so fucking strong. How deep are we? Like, what is it, like 50 to 40-ish? This looks good. Yeah, around 40%. I think you said 37, didn't you? So 37, pretty much spot on there. I would 3-bet super polar. This looks good to me. Very, very polar, big size. King 10's just going to be a call. Let's take a look. Does that make sense about the thought process behind leading a little bit?
It does, yeah.
Now, does that mean it's going to lead? Not necessarily. But we'll give him a 1. It's not like we only have boards. Like I said, we have underpairs. We can have some suited queens, jacks. We can have some broadways, you know, the good shots aren't going to fold, so. But he gets to the turn with this entire range. And we're going to fold a lot on this flop, right? 56% against one big blind. Like we said there, we've got all the pairs. We've got all the king-x. We've got the good shots, some suited queens and jacks at the absolute bottom of the range. What do you think? What do you think we're going to see?
I don't know.
No idea. It's tough, right?
Well, I get what you're saying, but I think the fact that we're covered is important.
Yeah. Tell you what we could do. We could take a look. If it doesn't lead, we could swap the stacks and see if we start leading when we're covered.
Yeah. Then the range.
It might just be because we're. Yeah. Let's take a look. Leading might suck. That's pretty fucking good. It's pretty fucking good.
That's why you're the best. 62% lead.
I think when we look at the range breakdown, it's going to be a little clearer.
No, yeah.
We go to.
It definitely makes sense.
So the ace-x is pretty similar because we're defending a similar range pre and post with ace-x and we're not raising the flop much. So he's c-betting his range. We're calling all the ace-x, so it's very similar there. The king-x, we're doing amazingly well in, obviously. I think I'm going to simplify these buckets. I mean, just look at how well we're doing across this block. We've check called ace-x, king-x, queen highs and pairs. Now, does he have access to all of those nut combos as well? Yeah, of course he does, but he also has 8-6 suited. If we go to this this block. He has all of this shit. We don't have any of this. Obviously, we have the pairs and the jack tens, but all of this, all these suit combos, the jack nine, the 10-9 off, we don't have any of it. So yeah, we're covered. To be honest, I would imagine if we look at a covered sim, where the cover and stack is just going to fucking lead range. What do you think his strategy is going to look like if we don't lead? Like, we can look at his strategy on the turn. So we check.
Yeah, but we need to no luck to us not leading.
So that's his strategy now. He just bets small, around a third of the time ish. Or checks quite a lot.
Yeah.
If you're in this spot in position and you know, oh shit, his range is super fucking strong, he should lead, but I don't think he's going to lead. I think most people aren't going to lead there, right?
Yeah.
What do you think the cutoff strategy is going to look like? I think Phoenix has nailed it, to be honest.
Yeah. I was gonna say.
I would check range. I would check range. I think it's just too much leading. Get rid of this. What we want to do is take the leads out. So big blind should lead 2/3 of the time. Pretty close to. If he doesn't, what do you do as the cutoff? Even as the cover and stack with infinite boats. You just fucking check everything. It's not quite range. I thought it was going to be range, but it's, yeah, 80%. A lot of check. Oops. 25%. So yeah, we can lead. We can check. Sizing's a bit too big. Probably okay. I'm going to force him, actually.
What's the lead size? Small, is it?
Just small. Yeah. So when we're out of position, the nut ratio is super high. I'm not going to expect any big leads to come in, even though we can lead a lot. So yeah, just 25% in the sim. Because in position does have a lot of that air, but he also has a lot of boats. He has the nuts very often. Whenever you're out of position and you're against a high nut ratio, very, very difficult to use big bet size. But he bets half pots. You can start to polarize on the river. So if we call this turn now, and then it's over to him on the river, and we check, now I'll start betting like pot. But
Okay, next hand.
big blind still covers as a bunch.
Next hand.
Don't fold this, Connor.
Next hand, please.
Please don't fold this. No, I'm only joking. I think this is going to mix. Actually, with King 10, I don't think it's going to mix. Let me correct. I think King X generally is going to probably have a little bit of fold, because most of our range at this point in the hand is a boat.
Yeah, that's what I actually thought in game, and I said on stream that I actually have a lot, because obviously I didn't know about the lead on the turn, and the fact that he covers us pre-flop. I actually have a lot of ace-x here that I can call with, that I can just, I felt like I could just fold on my king x. And maybe you don't want, maybe I don't want the 10 in my hand.
I want the 10. Because if he's bluffing, what's he bluffing with? He's bluffing with a queen, he's bluffing with a jack, he's bluffing with a 9, he's bluffing with an 8, 7, 6. Now, I'm not saying he shouldn't bluff with a 10, but I would feel much more comfortable calling King 10 than King 7, or King 8, or King Jack, or King 9, because I'm expecting that's where the bluffs come from. So when I'm structuring my calling range, obviously there's a lot of ace-x, but I don't know if all the ace-x is going to cover the calling block. I think if this situation allows you to call ace-x and nothing else, then he can't value bet anything, right? If that's the case, that our calling range against this bet size is in ace, how do you value bet an ace when you just get called by the nuts and everything else folds? You've just got to bet smaller. You've just got to bet 1/3, right, and get some calls from King X. It's the only way to manage that spot. So I think maybe if he bets like pot or overbet, it's going to be a little bit tricky. But I do think you're probably going to see some non-zero waiting on King X, and I think King 10's the best one.
I think. I mean, I know he's quite a good player, but I just don't see him bluffing. 'Cause he knows that I've got all these boats in my range, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it does fold.
Yeah. This is surprising. I would have weighted this higher than like King 9, but it's folding King 10 to call Queen 10, and it's folding King 10 to call pocket queens.
Right, yeah.
So if we're folding King 10 to call queens and Queen 10 and Queen Jack, then fair enough. But I can't imagine, based on how you described what you were thinking in game, that we're calling any of this. But it's just too much folding. One thing I would say as well, just exploitatively, my label on this guy is that he's pretty fucking crazy. So there's no shot I'm overfolding the river against this guy, especially someone competent. That's the first point. The second point is 6-5 suited's mixing, Connor. It's just mixing. Like 5-4 suited's mixing. 7-6, 7-5 are mixing. None of these are pure bluffing. You start firing these at a pure weight, which I don't think it's crazy to assume these really low suited connectors are gonna pure bluff before you see it, because that's usually how we want to bluff right from the bottom up.
Yeah. Yeah, he's
I
probably.
think this is more likely that he's overdoing it than underdoing it personally. So I think this call could be worth at least 0. So I think you're looking at a very aggressive player, in my experience, in a spot where he has to mix the bottom of his range, which I think is very fucking difficult to check 5-4. Yeah, I would call. And before seeing the sim, it's not obvious to me, like I said, that Queen Jack or Queen 10 is better than King 10. King 10 just feels very efficient. These lower kickers though, King 8, King 7, they're all folding. I'm gonna pull out the lead on the turn because we weren't leading. Now he's not betting at all, but I'm gonna force him to bet. He's gonna bet 10. Similar story, looks like it really likes these high cards. I would probably just simplify this, just fold these. I wouldn't mix these, I'd just call King 10, King Jack, King Queen. So yeah, I would have called personally.
Oh, sorry, this is when there's no lead in the turn. Yeah, this is our call range on the river.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
All right,
pretty
so
similar.
it's a lot of King X is folding.
Yeah. Yeah, around half. To your point earlier, we do have a shit ton of ace-x still, if we're not leading. So the bulk of the defending range is ace-x, but there's still enough. There's enough King X in the range that he can value bet to that size. But obviously, if he starts betting like 125% pot, we're just defending an ace now. It's really hard to value bet. So it's basically just chopping. I'm surprised it's bluffing at all, to be honest, because it's not getting any folds. Fold equity. I guess you're folding King X. But yeah, we can finish up there. Footnotes for me is when this turn improves our range. Got to think about what both ranges look like. I think like we saw in the sim, we can definitely have some leads there. What does he call that we beat if we re-raise Jam River? I don't think he's calling really anything. I think it's just one of those weird spots where we've both got the nuts. Like I don't think he's going to be back calling a king or anything. So you just chop. You just chop a bunch. Take a look.
he just has pocket kings that one time, and then we're. He doesn't. Why doesn't he have pocket kings in his range? He bets the turn. Or he did bet the turn.
King's just checking.
Okay.
Which makes sense because you're going to get the money in against ace-x anyway. But I think you probably benefit from checking through and have the big blind bluff. So you make the same amount of money against the nuts, but you increase how much money you make against pocket sevens, pocket sixes, pocket eight. Jack 10. So yeah, King's just checking. You're getting the stack when he has an ace anyway, so. But yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that was useful, Connor.
Yeah, very good. Thanks for watching. Make sure if this is your first time watching a video like this to watch the other episodes. And next episode will be out next week. See you then.